Yeah, well, and any company that uses Outlook and M365 is aligned with Microsoft.
Sure. Yeah. Wait, everybody in the world.
Yeah.
Give it away for free now, charge later. We have you for life. Welcome to Practical AI, everybody. My name's Jeff. I'm here with Peter Lynn. Practical AI is brought to you by Pocket AI. Pocket AI is a tool you can use to edit the weights of your model. With Pocket AI, you can prune over 60% of the weights in your model while increasing accuracy. Peter, we wanted to talk some of the big boys today. We have Google and Microsoft both on our docket. We're going to do a sort of a two-part topic. We'll talk about each of them briefly. Tell us a little bit about what Google announced this week and what impact it's having on the world of images.
Yeah, so Google released a new version of Gemini, which has Canvas. And so what it is it's a multimodal model where you can give it a photo or you can give it a prompt and it'll generate what you've told it. So for example, you can say, give me a picture of a boy fishing by a lake that's in this style, right? Or you can give it a picture of a person, say, make this person smiling or frowning, and it'll take that image, it'll modify it, or it'll take a prompt and generate an image.
Yeah, and we'll put a video in here of that, a couple of them actually. It's pretty impressive. I mean, it needs a little bit of prompt engineering, right? You got to kind of tweak it and mess with it. And sometimes you have to go back to the beginning and kind of start over because it kind of builds. So if
Yeah,
you keep working off of like a bad version that you don't like and you're like, no, no, I don't like that, it still kind of
start
uses
over.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
But to your point, it's some of it's really quite good.
Yeah.
So what do you think this means for, I don't know, some of the Photoshops and some of the image apps and image libraries and all that?
Right. So I think in the past, right, if you want to make a thumbnail or a picture, you're a photographer. Let's say you're a photographer and you take photos at a wedding, and your customer says, I want you to make sure that it all looks good. I want you to remove anything that looks unusual, or I want you to like do all the usual processing, right? So in the past, if you took, let's say, 2,000 photos, which wouldn't be unusual at a wedding, you would spend probably a week or two processing all those. Well, now with AI workflow, you could actually probably by the end of this year prompt it and say, look, I have these 2,000 photos. I want you to do XYZ to them. Clean it up, remove whatever stuff. And it would do it, right? It'll
Wow.
save you like time.
Yeah, and the margin of error that I saw was almost acceptable,
Yeah.
right? It was like some of the details in the background and stuff were like spot on.
Yeah.
Um, and you could tell there were like a couple images where it's the finger thing and all that stuff. But some of those are getting minimized and some of the errors now are becoming tolerable.
Yeah. I mean, just so if we take it back to the example of processing wedding photos, if it took me 2 weeks before and I could prompt its system, this is, you know, here's the photos from the wedding, clean it up, process it, apply my usual workflow, and it does it in 2 hours, you can go through and review 2,000 photos, and you can flag all the ones you wanted to redo,
Yeah.
and you can still spend less than 2 weeks. It might only be like 3 days.
Well, the
So
other thing that's crazy about that is if you had 200 or 2,000 photos from a wedding, you could then have that say, okay, now Gen AI, something that didn't even happen at the wedding,
you could, right?
right?
You could say, take all the photos from the dinner and make me a panorama
Yeah,
or a video, and it could do it.
it's crazy.
Probably.
Well, I mean, the one of the YouTubes we'll put in there just talks about the threat that this is to like Photoshop and stuff. I'm assuming that Adobe's got their plans and everything, and they're working on their
Yeah.
stuff too.
Well, Photoshop already has generative features where you can take a photo and you can like highlight a certain area and say, replace this with blah.
Yeah,
Right. So, but that's more of a human workflow. It's like, a person loads up the image in the app, and you say it right. Remove all the red eyes from all the photos.
Yeah.
And it go to do that. So that's nice. Or you might say some of the photos were shot with poor lighting because it started getting cloudy. Color correct those by turning up the brightness. So like today you would go to Photoshop and you load up each one and then you would go through and actually
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, it's impressive. Well, let's pivot over to Microsoft quick. So, there's a story that came out, and we'll show the blog that this came out in. But Microsoft, people are speculating now that something's up with Microsoft because they have canceled a bunch of leases on some of their, I think it was some of their energy
Yeah,
usage,
power.
right? Power, yeah. Tell us a little bit what the rumor mill is saying about this.
So this goes back to kind of the problem that NVIDIA mentioned, which is that every data center is power limited. And as a result, everyone has to book power months or years in advance. So for example, if you wanted to build a data center today and you wanted to fill it with, let's say, 100,000 GPUs, you would have to book that a year in advance. And so Microsoft, being Microsoft, they've booked power several years in advance. And so this report came out that Microsoft decided to not go through with some of the power that they had
Consumption.
requested, consumption. And so they're asking like, is Microsoft dumping Gen AI? And the answer is no. It's because the economy's bad, and so they're going to hold off.
Okay, so the people immediately went to Gen AI,
Yeah.
that Microsoft was going to stop going for Gen AI and improving their models and stuff like that. Um, and I asked you this question earlier, and you kind of explained it a little bit, but um, why did people jump there with Gen AI and Microsoft and not AGI?
Well, because the for this first phase of revenue, really everyone's working on chat apps. Of like, okay, instead of having a human answer a call center or having someone man a chatbot like on Verizon or Sprint or whatever or some website, you could have a human chat. You could have an AI chatbot that does this. And so everyone's kind of taking their knowledge bases, they're feeding it through a language model, getting the embeddings out, they're storing that in the search system or in a database, and then they're building RAG or prompt engineering apps that takes, when you ask a question, it goes, oh, give me the data from that subject, feed it to the prompt, reason over it, and spit back the response. And so they're not refining the model, they're just taking the data, they're figuring out the embeddings by feeding to the language model, and then they're just feeding that into the prompt to get a response back.
And explain again how RAG apps are different than what OpenAI's O1 was doing within the model.
So when OpenAI or AWS or Meta trains a new model, they literally start fresh. They take the whole entire web and they feed it, and they train it for anywhere from 8 to 16 months, depending. After that, they align it by refining it using human assistance, the RLHF stuff, and then after that, they do additional refinement and alignment work, right? So what Microsoft's doing with Copilot and all this other stuff is they're just feeding data into a database and they're encoding it so that it understands it. And then when you ask it questions, it just goes, oh, let's grab this data and let's feed it to the LM with the prompt. And so then you're not refining the model. You're just jamming more stuff into the prompt, and then it has more data to work with.
But you can do that. You can do that with these chat apps or whatever is essentially the
Yeah,
same thing. Okay.
exactly.
So where do you think Microsoft's going? Are they going to be behind now? Are they, is this going to
No, I
cost them?
think they're just being cautious. Which if I was them, I would be cautious because the economy is kind of crazy right now. There probably is going to be a recession. So, and I'm seeing a lot of universities are kind of hesitant to move forward with new projects because their funding's getting cut, so they don't know, are we going to have funding?
Sure.
And even businesses are like, well, we were going to do it, but now that the economy is going to be in recession, maybe we shouldn't. So
And
everyone's like,
Microsoft's very well aligned with the university systems, right? More than maybe Anthropic would be, or another one, right?
yeah, well, and any company that uses Outlook and M365 is aligned with Microsoft.
Sure. Yeah. Wait, everybody in the world.
Yeah.
Give it away for free now, charge later. We have you for life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, this is
So
good.
they're just being smart, right? Because
Yeah.
if they overspend now and the economy tanks so hard, they're going to be in trouble.
All right. This is couple of couple interesting topics as it relates to the big boys, which we haven't talked about them as much recently. Um, by the way, back to Google. We'll wrap it up here, but if they have all these images that are created by Gen AI,
Hmm.
we've talked in the past about how that ends up contaminating the
Yeah.
image universe, and then kind of becomes incestuous, and you get these sort of bastardized images that come out of Gen AI. Is there a good way around that?
Some people hypothesize that with better generation, so if you listen to what Jensen says, they have the generative model to create synthetic data. So this is part of their Omniverse platform, where they claim to have improved, in big air quotes, synthetic data generation. Now, whether that's true or not, no one's really tested fully yet. But they claim that they've solved a lot of the problems, not all the problems, but a lot of the problems with synthetic data. So
Okay.
the question is, if you're generating images, you probably want to start with some grounded truth of like, okay, this is what a horse looks like. Well, luckily with NVIDIA, if they want to generate a better model for horses, they have 3D models of horses. And they have the graphics cards to render horses. So in theory, they could generate really good high quality data for horses because people have modeled horses in 3D and they use it in games and movies and all that kind of stuff. So if you wanted to generate good synthetic data, you would start with some physical ground truth in order to generate it. With language models, that's a bit harder because language is so flexible and malleable.
Okay. So you actually think it'll be easier to do on the image side than it will be on the language side?
Yeah, because it's grounded in actual physical reality.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll cover that topic in more detail at a later date. Peter, thank you. This is it's good. It's always good to get some wisdom and learn a little bit about the news, what's coming across the wire in terms of AI stuff. You can always follow us on Spotify. You can leave comments. You can give us ideas for topics, which we'd love to cover, and then, of course, ask questions, and we will try to answer them. We'll catch you next time, everybody. Thank you.